my name's David Wilkinson. I worked on the Humber Bridge as a painter, although we didn't do much painting for the first 6 months. We was cleaning the red lead off from the main cables. Bridge board actually used the red lead. We didn't actually put it on, they did it on before they wrapped it sort of that way around. And as it wrapped it on, it used to ooze out of it, so that was all what we had to clean off. Red lead was a bit dicey because they wouldn't be using it nowadays, but and we used to go, I think it was every month, used to go for their blood tests, and they used to check your count, see how much lead you had in your blood, and if it was too much, then they took you off the job. They give you, I don't know whether they give, I never got to that point, so because they'd give you all the, well, I'll say safety equipment, but there was gloves and rubber gloves and that you used to have, so it didn't, because it used to seep in through the material and that into your skin, so it was quite dicey really. So, but they wouldn't be doing it today, I don't think. Yeah, when we eventually started to paint, I started up at Barton. We used to call it downstream, upstream from the main cable. So I was on the upstream at Barton Towers, and I started painting from there, coming down. Going back to health and safety, we used to go to pub on a dinner time and have 2 or 3 pints, and then climb up 500 foot, with a handrail that was up to this height, when you think about it, God, you'd be off the job now, wouldn't you? It was, when people say, "Oh, didn't you used to be clipped onto the cable?" I was like, no. You had literally had a cable that was about this high to you with mesh, and it was mesh underneath and up the side, and that was it. There was nothing. You used to walk down, when I first started, the first day we went right to the top, and there was a canteen at the top, but you could just make a cup of tea and stuff like that. And I was having a cup of tea, and then we'd finished it. I said, right, we'll go onto the cable, and at first, when you was walking on the mesh, it was all boarded out, so you couldn't see down. And then was like walking, and I suddenly stepped, and you could see straight down. I'm like, oh my God! And I was clung to the main cable, and I was like, what have I let myself in for? So I was like walking along, but by the end of the week, I was running down it, and you started to go, and it used to bounce. Did the mesh once you started going, and if you got your foot wrong and you was hit it as you was coming up, you end up rolling down we had some fun. So in the morning we used to go clock on at Hessel. We used to go to there's a cabin there, we used to clock on. There was 2 options. You could either get on the van and go around up the road and up to sort of Hessel midstream, and then you'd have to get up on the cable, but the van was there was only so many you could get in, and there was quite a few blokes work there. So we used to go up the lift at the side right to the top, walk down the main cable right the way up to Barton. Then we used to come down the lift at Barton, and then walk the rest of the way to the cabins at Barton, which was on the other bank. And then we'd have to get changed into our overalls and everything, safety stuff, and then back up, and then walk up the cable back to where we was working, which we started at 8 o'clock. By the time we'd got up there, it was getting on for 9:30, so we was all near enough set ready to come back for tea break. So there wasn't a real lot of work done first in the morning. So we used to do about maybe quarter of an hour's work, and then we'd set off back for the tea break. And by the time we'd had our tea break, it was getting on for 10:30, back up for 11:15, and we had about an hour's work, and then it was back down for dinner. So you can see why it took so long to build. When I see the bridge, I do feel proud, that I have actually worked on it and I had some input on it. It is a bit of a standing joke with the family. Every time they see it, my granddaughter still thinks that I built it single-handedly. But yeah, we always, as soon as if we come round the corner from 63 and you see it, and I always say, there she is, and I do feel proud of it. It's a great achievement, and I love it.